So thank you all for coming here to the press conference today. We want to talk about one particular item in the budget. We want to make it clear that starting October 1st, the grocery tax is back. You look at this budget and you will see that predominantly grocery store items are going to be taxed where they're not taxed. They're going to be taxed at 7.35%. DRS, Department of Revenue Services, issued a bulletin. And in that bulletin, it lists, we've put them up over here, the items that are going to be taxed. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking grocery stores that used to, if they worked kind of like a restaurant, we had a 6.35% tax because they operated like a restaurant. But where they operate as a grocery store, we haven't taxed them. Starting October 1st, prepared meals, prepared foods, ready for consumption, will be taxed at 7.35%. So as an example, staff went to the store at Stop and Shop and purchased some items. And as you can see, there's no sales tax. They purchased items, Vin will take them out. An ice cream. That's now taxed will be now taxed according to the DRS at 7.35. Prepared lettuce, chopped, ready for service, under 8 ounces.
That's
Spinach. Spinach, this green thing, will be taxed. It's 8 ounces or less, will be taxed at 7.35%. If you buy 5 or less rolls or donuts, you will be taxed 7.35%. If you buy 6, no tax. No tax at 6 or 7 or up and above. But for 2, for a sandwich, you're going to get taxed. Rotisserie chicken. You all get sandwiches when we're done. Rotisserie chicken is now going to be taxed. These are items that people buy every single day at a grocery store. Particularly the elderly, single family, moms, dads. You even buy a bar, an energy bar. They consider this a meal, according to the DRS. You are now going to be taxed at 7.35%, where you were not taxed before. That's what this bill is going to do. It is simply a money grab. That's all it is. Starting October 1st, all these items, plus everything on the list over there, is going to be taxed. And how it happened? Because in the bill of the budget, they stuck in the word grocery store. And when they stuck in the word grocery store, according to DRS, we're assuming that's how they got to this conclusion, all prepared foods are now going to be taxed where they were not taxed before at the highest rate. So when we were sold this bill, well, what's a 1% tax on restaurants? You're going to go to have a steak, you're going to go out to dinner, so what? You're paying 1% more, don't crab. That's what we were told. That's what the public was told by the Democrats who passed this. Don't worry about the extra 1%. If you can afford to go out to have dinner, you can afford the 1%. But that isn't what they wrote. That isn't how it's going to be enforced. Now I'd like to turn over to Representative Candelora.
In January of 2019, when the idea of even taxing groceries was floated, it fell like a lead balloon. Because people realized that taxing groceries would hurt our most needy people. We are trying to put food on people's tables, and to tax that behavior is not a good thing for the state of Connecticut. And what was floated out there was, if we increase and put taxes on groceries, we'll decrease the sales tax elsewhere and try to balance it out. So maybe everyone will pay a little bit less in an overall sales tax. And that didn't even fly in Connecticut. So what did the Democrats do? Is they conjured up a budget, a way to pull groceries into this meals tax. And I say that because when this issue came before us, Republicans pointed out the concern that including groceries into this definition was potentially expanding meals. And as Senator Fasano pointed out, no, we were told it was only going to apply to prepared meals. If you go out to a restaurant where people could afford that luxury, let them pay another 1%. And in reality now, when we see the DRS statement come out, that's not in fact what's going to happen here. So we're going to have items that people normally purchase go from 0 to 7.35% in taxation. And what is this policy about? What are we achieving? Is it about healthy eating? No, apparently not, because we're going to be taxing people who want to purchase salads. What this is all about is another money grab in the state of Connecticut. And it's also a concern, I think, for businesses, because many of us are caught by surprise that this is actually the way that DRS interpreted this language. And so for those businesses now, they're going to be left scrambling, trying to figure out 4 muffins might be taxed, but 6 muffins may not be taxed. And remember, this is just an advisory opinion. It's the tip of the iceberg. So as DRS will be very quickly to point out, we can't rely on this ruling. It's merely advisory. So we're going to leave it up to the business sector to figure out what items they should be taxing. And when we talk about the punitive nature of a DRS audit, do we really think grocery stores are going to be conservative in determining what's a meal and what should be taxed? No. Potentially, the state of Connecticut is going to be exposed to much greater taxation as a result of this very vague and broad language that was crafted up by the Democrats.
There's even more detail to the DRS. So for instance, if you were to walk out with this chicken and a soda, today you would not be taxed on either. After October 1st, because they're going to deem the soda as part of the chicken, you're going to get taxed on the chicken and the soda. If you just bought the soda, you wouldn't be taxed. But because you buy it together, someone's got to make a determination that's part of the meal. That's what DRS is saying. And as Representative Candelora says, this leads to abundant of questions of what's taxed, what's not. I don't know how you do self-checkout. It is a mess. But this is done because it is called a money grab. This is just one of the many problems that this budget has caused in the state of Connecticut. When you do it in the back room, when you do it with one party that echoes each other's thoughts, when you do it where there's no one else who could weigh in, and like-minded people think in the same way, ultimately, this is the result you end up with. So I don't know if there's any questions.
Yes, Senator. The governor retorts to these statements of yours. He admits he needed the money to balance the budget, but he sees this as a fairness issue. And he told me, quote, "I think our restaurants have been at a real disadvantage because people could go to grocery stores and buy the same thing you can get at a restaurant tax-free at the grocery store."
So that just shows that he does not understand the law as it exists today. There is no unfair advantage. If you bought, Big Y has those counters. If you bought a pizza at that counter, you would end up paying a sales tax, current law, if you bought that pizza at that counter, if you ate it there. But if you take it home, the idea of a grocery store is you're taking it home for consumption. That's the whole idea of a grocery. That's the functioning aspect of a grocery store. So we filled that parity in by whether you believe it or not, in terms of what was done in the other budget. You said we're going to charge 6.35. What this said was, no, that's not enough. We want to do more. We want to do ice creams that come in small 1 servings. We want to do lettuce that comes in 1 servings. So you go to buy, if you're an elderly person, you're not going to buy, a whole tub of tuna salad. You're going to buy 1 serving. Well, that wasn't taxed. Now it's taxed. So the people that are being hurt are the single moms, the elderly, and those are on budgets who buy in small quantities.
Begging your pardon, I think that the interpretation of the DRS memo is it not necessarily just single servings, but like the lettuce, for example, is prepared and ready to eat.
It's under 8 ounces on lettuce. But the point is,
Under 8 ounces,
right, they're under 8 ounces, and that's how they come. But the point is that's exactly why this bill is more encompassing than what Governor Lamont is talking about. We corrected that inconsistency, as he points out, by putting 6.35 on some of the foods. This is much broader.
Yeah, to talk about the parity issue, I think the governor is getting to is that prepared meals in grocery stores has always been taxed. Whether you bought a sandwich at Subway or a sandwich at the deli counter at a supermarket, both items are taxed. That parity did exist, and there's a revenue ruling, I think it was around 2002, that came out that made that very clear. So the governor is speaking to an issue that was already current law in the state of Connecticut. What this bill is actually doing, and what we all should be concerned of, it's not about parity. It's about expanding the universe of taxation. And to your point, Mark, these items that are ready to eat in a grocery store, even though you're going to take them home and feed them to your children, are now going to be taxable.
Can you talk about some of the confusion? We had a chance to talk to some supermarkets. I think it's going to be hard for people, but they're not clear exactly what some of these laws are, whether it's 5 bagels, it's 6 big bagels, whether they have a food court, whether they don't have a food court. So they're not really clear on what the laws really are. And I know the original proposal was all food, but this is very detailed and vague at the same time.
Exactly. And DRS has come out with the guidelines with respect to some of these details and vagueness. So cookies, 5 or fewer, will be taxed at 7.35%. 6 or more, apparently, are not going to be taxed.
Or may not.
Or may
We
not
don't
be
even
taxed,
know.
we're not really sure. So yes, in terms of you buy a bag of bagels, you don't get taxed. You go to the bakery and you want to get 2 bagels off the bakery, you can pay 7.35, the best we could tell from this DRS. So I understand why the grocery stores are confused. Once again, you take a drink with you and a chicken, the presumption is you're going to be drinking it with that chicken, therefore we're going to tax the soda. So it's crazy what to do. But understand what the import of this is, Representative Candelora said. It is to expand the universe of taxation, which is what all these Republicans have talked about when this bill came out. It's unfair, it's not right, and it's unjust. And to them, it was, no, it's a money grab, it's the way. His opening statement was, we had to use that to balance the budget. Is that a justifiable policy? I would suggest it's not.
And I think when he originally proposed this grocery tax, which is scaled back a bit, the governor had said that other states are doing this, a lot of states in the Northeast, so.
So we looked at it, and the definition is in other states in the Northeast is that those laws talk about if you have a seating area, kind of like what we did the first time. If you have a seating area, a place to consume it on site, then you're going to be treated. It is a it's a grocery store acting like a restaurant, you'll be taxed. When a grocery store acts like a grocery store, it should not be taxed. What this is, a grocery store acting like a restaurant is going to be taxed, and a grocery store acting like a grocery store is going to be taxed. We believe that's bad policy. We believe it is not fair. And those are going to be most susceptible to paying this are the elderly, the lower income folks who are buying meals less, those type of folks.